What's going on, fellow beginner drummers? My name is Jeff Miller. I'm making some drum videos to help my buddy Dustin, who lives in Oregon, learn how to play the drums. We've been friends for about 15 years now, starting to talk about him playing the drums, which made me realize that I have not been drumming as much as I should. Life got in the way with work and a baby and all that good stuff, but now it's time to jam again. So my intention is to give some really good beginner drum lessons. I should start by saying any video that I make, there's 1,000 other videos on YouTube that are better than mine. They're going to have better lighting, better sound quality, better drummers, better everything. So if you don't like my videos or you think they're cheesy, that's fine. They probably are. But the point here is to get down to some really basic drumming. All the videos should be 5 minutes or less that are a tutorial or instruction based, and then once we actually get into the drum kit, then some of the videos will probably be longer because some of the concepts will be more complex. So let's get started. I'm going to assume that you already know what a drum set is. I'm going to assume that you know what drum sticks are, and I'm also going to assume that you have something to play on, because you don't need a drum set to be a drummer. That's one of the awesome things about drumming. If you listen to old Buddy Rich interviews, who is a very well-known jazz drummer, if you don't know who he is, check him out, Jazz Big Band Swing. He and many other drummers learned or improved their playing by playing on pillows. Why pillows? Why does that make a difference? Well, unlike a practice pad right here with rubber on it, or a drum that gives what's called feedback or bounce back, which is the actual stick bouncing off the head. When you play on a pillow or cushion, you don't get any of that bounce back. And what that does is build your hand and wrist coordination so you can play super fast on a soft surface that doesn't have bounce back, feedback, or rebound. And then once you do get on a surface that has rebound, the stick's going to come back and you're going to be able to control that and then play a lot faster. So I have a couple notes here that I want to go over, just things that I wrote down that I think are important. So as I mentioned, drum set, not required. You can use a practice pad, you can play with your hands on your legs. If you're striking something and it's making a sound, you are drumming. You might not be a professional, but you are drumming, and that's what makes drumming awesome. You can do it anywhere and anybody can do it. So let's talk about holding your sticks first, starting off. So this is a drumstick. Drumsticks come in all different sizes, widths, thicknesses, and different type of materials. It can be wood. They even have some sticks that are aluminum wood hybrid mix. Finding a stick that fits your grip style is going to depend on what you're playing, how hard you're playing, style of music. The tip of them are the tip of the drumstick is also different as well. And so this is just something you're going to have to experiment. But once again, the great thing about drumming is that a stick is a stick is a stick at the end of the day. It's going to make a noise. And if you're really in a bind, it's not like you're going to say, oh, well, I can't jam, I can't play with this band because I don't have the right sticks. You know, I would compare it to maybe golf clubs, to where a pro golfer like a Tiger Woods could go out on a course, play with a mediocre set of clubs, and probably still beat the hell out of any of us at golf. But when he plays on the PGA Tour, he plays with the best golf clubs there are, because he's playing at his peak performance for him with those sticks. So you being a beginner drummer, really getting into all the different variations of sticks and certain types of bend that they have, and it's not gonna help or hurt you. Just go and buy a regular stick. They're gonna have different coatings on them, like 5B and 7A. Those are gonna have to deal with sizes. So when you go into your music store, just say, hey, give me a couple sticks that vary in thickness, and then you'll just kind of find what sits in your hand, and you'll play with that. All right, so next, when you hold your stick here, really important, there's two ways that you can hold. There's what's called the traditional way, which traditional, you see old school players playing a lot like this, which is, it's almost like if you were giving somebody the middle finger, sorry if there's any young viewers, but it's like flipping somebody off, and then you take the stick and you insert it like this. That's kind of what it looks like, and then the hand is just relaxed, and you control the stick just essentially using your thumb and with your finger out, and then it bounces off your ring finger here. So, and then your right hand, of course, is the is match grip, as they call it. So match grip is this right here. So match grip is the grip that you're going to see most people playing with with this grip these days. There's no real reason to favor one over the other. I'll just say in this day and age, the traditional grip has kind of died out. It was very popular in the 40s, 50s, and 60s with swing bands. You'll still see some drummers playing. There's a couple theories about why it might be better as far as moving around the drum kit, or just the fact that the traditional setup of a hi-hat here, a snare here, that playing with your wrist like this, you know, down here kind of limits your ability to move the stick, as to just kind of relaxing it right here in your waist area makes it easier. But look, not a lot of drummers out there these days that you see on MTV or bands that you hear on the radio are playing with a traditional style. It's all match grip. So me personally, I would go match grip. Try not to switch off between the two, because it's going to end up confusing you and you're going to suck at both instead of being really good at one. And this is with caveats too. If you are a drummer in a high school band or a marching band, your drumline teacher might require that you play with a traditional grip versus match grip. A lot of marching bands still play that way. So that'd be one reason you do it. Or if you're like really jazzy and want to look cool, you might play with that anyway. So those are two different grips if you hear people talk about traditional and match, as I discussed. But as a new drummer, whatever one you pick it, stick with it. I recommend match grip because that's what most people do. Next, so playing with a metronome, that's a huge thing. If you don't know what a metronome is a piece of equipment that keeps time. Old school metronomes sat in a little wooden box and had a little stick that went back and forth that was weighted. You'll see them on pianos and stuff like that. Well, these days it's just a little beat box, right? And what does a metronome do? It keeps time. Metronomes are the key as a new drummer to playing on the beat and not losing your way. Now, fast forward 5 years from now and you're a badass drummer and you can play all different kind of time signatures and you can play fast and slow and you can improv. There's an argument to be made that playing always on time is not a good thing, because bands are supposed to be fluid and they speed up and they slow down, and that's how you create different sounds and also drive emotion behind music, by doing from slow to fast or fast to slow. But for a beginner, playing with a metronome while you're doing your warm-ups, playing rudiments, and doing your basic drum grooves on a drum set is going to be the foundation of you being a good drummer. Because I have run into, as well as any musician that's been around for a long time, has run into phenomenal guitar players, drum players, bassists, whatever, that have just been jamming up in their attic, or in their band room for years and years, and finally they get in a band and they just cannot stay on the beat, which then makes all of your skill and ability just useless. Because, especially if you're a drummer, because that's your purpose in a band. If you didn't know what your purpose is as a drummer, it's to keep time and to keep everybody honest and play on the beat so people can follow you. And if other people get lost, like you're in a big band scenario playing with like 50 other people or 10 other people, people know that you want your bass drum, your snare, your hi-hat, your cymbal is going to cue them to where they are in the music. So play with a metronome. I downloaded a metronome on my phone. If you have an iPhone, which everybody pretty much does these days, they're free and they're going to help you out a lot. Next, so we will get into actually playing in a minute, incorporating your feet as well. So if you know you're going to be a drum set player, like you're watching this video because you want to play the drum set, that means that your feet are going to be involved with the hi-hat and the bass drum, and maybe in the future a double bass drum or double bass pedal. To build independence while you're doing these drills, then what you can do is incorporate your feet early on, so you start building the ability to use your hands and feet at the same time. And what I mean by that, just real quick, is when you're playing a warm-up drill, like let's say you're doing quarter notes, which I'll discuss what that is in a second. You're doing a warm-up drill and you're just doing 4 beats on one hand on your right and then 4 beats on the left. Then incorporate your right foot and left foot. So that sounds something like 1, 2, 3, 4, left, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, left, 2, 3, 4, go. And in the end, that will end up going into almost drum roll style taps, where you're doing more of like and some drummers can play that fast with their feet. I cannot, but what I can do is play really fast single double bass. So if I'm doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can play that fast. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can even play a lot faster than that on the kit, but I practice that when I'm even doing like right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. And then you can also, I just did my right on the end instead of the left. And you can incorporate, so what's going to happen when you start playing the kit is you're going to have to start playing with your hands and feet at the same time. And so now you're building that disconnect. You want your right leg and your right hand to be independent of your left. You want independency. You want all of your limbs to be independent of one another, so you're not following each other. And if you get caught up playing just basic 4/4 rhythms without a metronome, and you're always playing the same sticking patterns, you're always playing with your right hand on the hi-hat and your left hand on the snare, and you're always just using your right foot while you let your left foot be super lazy, because all it's doing is either holding the hi-hat closed or then opening the hi-hat to play a loose hi-hat during like a rock or metal breakdown, it's going to be harder in the future to build your legs up. So just go ahead and start now. It only takes a second. Do your hands, then do your feet. Good to go. All right, what's next on the list? Tracking your progress. So that's the last thing we'll get into before we actually start getting into quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and triplets. And I just realized that this video is already about 10 minutes long, so I went over my 5-minute rule. That was really easy to do. So tracking your progress, it's just like working out. If you've never been to the gym, you still understand gym bro lingo, right? So you're doing 4 sets of 10 reps or whatever, and you're deadlifting, squatting, bench pressing, right? In order to lift more weight and get bigger, you got to log that stuff, right? So one day you're bench pressing 150, 2 weeks go by, you add 10 pounds, now you're doing 160. A year later, you're doing 225. 3 years later, you're benching 275. I don't know. But you can track that progress. And the reason you can track it is because you've written it down. So what you need to do when you're playing on a practice pad or a snare drum, if you're fortunate enough to have a snare drum or even have a whole drum kit, is you need to write down the tempo that you are able to play your warm-up drills, your rudiments, and then even when you get into beats, you need to log how fast. Now, I want to be very clear about this. Fast is not the key. Slow is the key. you're going to have to break down some grooves that you play. Whenever you play a new groove, it's not going to be to where like, oh, I just hear it in my head and boom, I'm playing it. You're going to have to break it down to a tempo that is this slow. And you're going to have to think, okay, right foot, left hand, left foot, right hand. And it's going to sound all disjointed and really slow, and it's not going to sound cool, and it's not going to sound like a beat, and you're going to be like, this is really dumb. I don't hear it. It doesn't sound awesome. But you log it. Say you're playing it at a tempo of like 60 BPM beats per minute. Well, get that down, and then once you hit every note right for a solid 1 minute straight, bump that up to 70, then bump it up to 80. Next thing you know, you're playing it at 120. Next thing you know, you're at 138, and then you're do-da-da-do-da-da-do-da-da, and it sounds really awesome. On that note, as you just heard me do, if you speak it or you can do it with your mouth, you can pretty much play it. A lot of drum teachers are pros at playing an entire drum set beat with their mouth because they can accent and play like bass notes and snare and all that. But really, you're going to have to talk it out. So that's the theme, the last theme there, talk it out. If you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and say on the 1, I'm going to hit my right foot on the bass drum, and on the 2, I'm going to hit my left hand on the snare, which is your basic rock beat, which we're going to get into. Just talk it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's quarter notes, and then you're going to get into the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which are your eighth notes, and then 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, which is your 16th notes, and all that will come in future lessons. So that's the first video. We discussed that a drum set's not required. Holding your sticks, there's 2 different ways you can do it. I recommend match grip, which is just your standard grip like this. Don't worry about how high or how low you hold them. What you do need to worry about though is like obviously you're not going to be way up here. You want to be about 1/3 the way up of your stick. Do not hold your stick to where you're holding on with just these fingers or just that finger, letting your sticks flail around. And do not just play with these 2 fingers so when you're playing it looks like you're playing like this. You are going to need all of these fingers later on when you get fast. And if you start bad habits of playing really loosey-goosey like this, it's going to come back to bite you in the end. So hold your drumsticks, but hold them lightly so you can play with finesse, but also fast. We also covered playing with a metronome. Do it. You can buy a metronome or you can just download the app on your phone for free. Play with a metronome. Track your progress. That's the first video. I hope you enjoyed it. And the second one will actually play Keep Rockin' On.